Sometimes the sharpest political commentary isn't some long-winded speech or a detailed article. Nope, it's just a single, sarcastic comment. And today, we're digging into one of those from musician Vishal Dadlani. It's a really sharp take on how political time gets spent, and it all revolves around one single marathon session in Parliament. Let's get right into it.
So here's the question at the heart of all this. When a country's got 1,000,001 problems, what are its leaders actually spending their most valuable resource on? Their time. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the sarcasm used to ask that very question and what it tells us about the tension between symbols and substance.
Okay, let's just start with this number, 10. 10 hours. I mean, think about that. That's more than a full workday. For anyone, that's a huge chunk of time. But for an entire government body that's supposed to be running a country, you gotta wonder, right? What on earth could possibly need that much focused attention?
And yeah, this wasn't just some casual chat. We're talking about a full-on, formal, structured debate inside the Indian Parliament. The place where national laws get made and where the country's biggest issues are supposed to get sorted out. So the stakes, they're pretty hot.
And the subject of this 10-hour epic debate, get this, it was a single song. Yep, you heard me right. 10 hours on one piece of music. This one kind of unbelievable fact is what kicks off the entire commentary we're diving into today.
All right, so what's the deal here? I know a 10-hour debate on a song sounds, well, a little wild on the surface. But to really get the critique, we first have to understand the event itself and why this particular song is such a big deal. So let's get some context.
So here are the basics. The event we're talking about was a debate that went on for nearly 10 hours in the Indian Parliament. And the whole thing was focused squarely on the song Vande Mataram. Now, to understand why a song could command this level of political attention, you have to know that its history is deeply, deeply woven into the fabric of the nation.
Yeah, Vande Mataram is not just any song. It started out as a poem, and then it became this incredibly powerful anthem during India's struggle for independence. It carries a ton of historical and emotional weight for many, many people, which helps explain, at least a little bit, why it can be the subject of such a passionate discussion. Okay, and that brings us right to the core of the critique. Look, given the song's significance, a debate might seem understandable. But the sarcasm? That's all about the scale of that debate. 10 hours, especially when you see it against the backdrop of all the other pressing issues a country faces.
This is where we get these fragmented words from the source material that really capture the whole sarcastic jab. India problem, solve problem, imagine, count. There's a raw power in how simple it is. The message is just unmistakable. Just imagine if that same energy, that same amount of time were spent solving the countless problems India faces.
And this just lays out the central conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the official parliamentary agenda, a 10-hour debate on a national song. And on the other, the critique points to this long, long list of India's real-world, unsolved problems, from economic challenges to infrastructure, you name it, that could have been discussed instead. It's a pretty stark contrast in priorities.
So the logic behind the sarcasm is actually pretty straightforward when you break it down like this. You start with the fact a 10-hour debate happened. Then you acknowledge that time is a limited, precious resource for our leaders. Then you introduce the reality of all these other urgent issues. And the final, unstated question just kind of hangs there in the air. Was this really the top priority?
This whole incident and the sharp reaction to it isn't just about one song or one debate. It taps into a much larger, ongoing conversation about how government should work, about accountability, and what a nation should truly be focusing on.
The really crucial point here is that this is a meta-debate. It's a debate about the debate itself. It forces us to ask what's more important, discussing symbols of national identity or using that same time to tackle tangible problems affecting people's daily lives. Where do you even draw that line?
And that's exactly why this matters so much. A short, sarcastic comment can act like a mirror, reflecting public frustration and sparking a way bigger conversation about political accountability. It's a powerful reminder that the public is always watching and weighing the priorities of its leaders against their own day-to-day realities.
Ultimately, this whole explainer really boils down to this single, powerful question. And it's not just for politicians, but for all of us as citizens. When time is the one resource we absolutely cannot get back, how should a nation and its leaders decide to spend it? What's the right balance between the symbolic and the practical? It's a question definitely worth thinking about.